Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We Science Group would like to welcome all of you to the India Food Nutrition Summit 2021. We would like to take this opportunity and platform to thank all of our honorable speakers, delegates, and sponsors for supporting and believing in the India Food Nutrition Summit 2021. Especially, we would like to thank our partners for supporting us, our associate partner, Schneider Electric, category partners Antilia Scientific, Kerry, Merck, Testo, exhibit nutrition partner Hexagon Nutrition, exhibit partners Perkin Elmer, Thermo Fisher Scientific, digital partners and corporate partners like DuPont Scientific Sustainable Solutions, DSM, Triphase Pharmaceuticals Private Limited, CHR Hansen, and Aviva. We would also like to thank our associate partners, Indian Dietetic Association, AFSDI, AIFPA, FSSAI, NABL, and Indian Dairy Association. The summit brings in all the industry chieftains of the food, beverage, and dairy industry sector in India under one platform to discuss on the best practices and innovation in the food nutrition industry in India. About Synix, Synix is one of the world's leading platform of opportunity for our delegates, speakers, vendors, exhibitors, sponsors, and consultants to interact, meet, network, and learn cutting-edge solutions, and also engage with high-profile decision makers under one platform. I'm extremely glad and extremely thankful to our partners once again for supporting us. I would again like to extend our gratitude to them. Our associate partner Schneider Electric, category partners Antilia Scientific, Kerry, Merck, Testo, nutrition partner Hexagon Nutrition, our corporate partners DuPont Sustainable Solutions, DSM, Triphase Pharmaceuticals Private Limited, CHR Hansen, and Aviva. Our association partners Indian Dietetic Association, AFSDI, AIFPA, FSSAI, NABL, and Indian Dairy Association. And now, ladies and gentlemen, before we begin the proceedings of the day one of the India Food Nutrition Summit, I would like to introduce our chief guest, Shri Meenesh Shah, Executive Director of National Dairy Development Board. Shri Meenesh Shah will deliver the opening address to the entire food, beverage, and dairy fraternity and start the day for us. But before I formally, ask Meenesh Shah ji to be on the stage and live to all of you, I would like to give you all a brief about Shri Meenesh Shah ji. Shri Meenesh Shah, currently the Executive Director of National Dairy Development Board, is graduated with BSc Dairy Technology from Seth MC College of Dairy Science, Gujarat Agriculture University, Anand, and a postgraduate diploma in Rural Management from Institute of Rural Management, Anand. Since September 1985, he is serving the National Dairy Development Board, Anand, in various capacities. He has multidimensional experience in the dairy sector for more than 33 years in areas such as research and development, product and process development, project appraisal and finance, cooperative sciences, and many more. He has also been part of the overseas joint venture of NDDB Kiria Milk Industries of Lanka Limited, Sri Lanka, presently serving as the Executive Director of National Dairy Development Board, along with many other prestigious institutions such as the Indian Dairy Machinery Company Limited, IDMC, the NDDB Dairy Services, NDS, and Vidya Dairy. Meenesh Shah ji, it's our pleasure and extremely we are glad and we are humbled to have a person of your stature be part of this mega event, the India Food Nutrition Summit, and it gives us immense joy to have you as our honorable chief guest. All over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good morning, distinguished speakers and participants of this fourth India Food Nutrition Summit 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to compliment the organizers for organizing this fourth annual India Food Nutrition 2021 and also thank them for inviting me to address the opening session. I hope all of you are safe and taking good care of your families in this pandemic situation when we are witnessing resurgence of COVID-19 cases in record numbers again. The pandemic is not a new event encountered in the history of humanity because mankind has faced various pandemics in the history, and the common point of these pandemics is their serious negative impacts on the global economy. And I think food industry is one of the most important sectors of the global economy today. While COVID-19 is a respiratory illness and there is no evidence that food itself is a vector of its transmission. However, its measures to contain its spread have profound implications for our food security, nutrition, and food systems. If we look at the worldwide scenario, it is observed that a number of overlapping and reinforcing factors are affecting food systems, food security, and nutrition in a world affected by spread of this deadly virus. Some of these I can highlight: disruptions to food supply chains, loss of income and livelihood, which we have witnessed, disruptions to social protection programs. I think this is also important in terms of the current crisis which is going on. And all of these have far-reaching implications as far as our food industry is concerned. And all concerned stakeholders will have to take this into account while we contemplate our future plans or strategies for the growth. The closure of restaurants and other food service facilities, have led or they are still leading to a sharp decline in demand of certain perishable foods, including some of the dairy products, potatoes and its products, fresh fruits. So I think in this scenario, farmers without the adequate storage facilities, including the cold storage, in the entire value chain, they are finding themselves with food that they could not sell. So the pandemic is also resulting in a dramatic loss of livelihoods and income on a global scale. A recent report I was going through, published by the Pew Research Center, it suggests that middle class in India have shrunk almost 30%, and the number of poor have risen to 7.5 crore due to this COVID pandemic. The resulting drop in purchasing power has major implications on the food security and nutrition. And as food demand contracts due to these declining incomes, I think food producers and food system workers' livelihoods are also likely to be further affected. The important point which I again highlighted is the social protection programs. They have been disrupted by the pandemic, which in turn are affecting food security and nutrition of the large population. When the lockdown began, most schools were closed, resulting in the loss of even school meal programs in both high and low income countries. If I talk specifically to the dairy sector, I think India's complete lockdown last year due to COVID pandemic caused disruptions in the supply chain, and foremost impact of this pandemic was in terms of reduced demands of milk and milk products. However, I think thanks to the efforts by the industry and also the support provided by government in the form of working capital and interest subvention scheme, particularly to the dairy cooperatives, the dairy industry showed a very high resilience and managed to achieve a strong comeback subsequently. Even the sluggish demand of HoReCa segment, which we had seen due to closure of travel and tourism industry, it also started picking up to some extent as travel restrictions got eased. Most of these dairy sector companies across the country, they started recovering from the lockdown impacts of previous year, and they have seen growth in milk procurement and also marketing from September, October 2020 onwards. So enforcement of strict lockdowns in different states had led to plummeting the average daily sales by dairy cooperatives say from cooperatives were selling about 380 lakh liters per day during February 2020. It went to 316 lakh liters during April 20. However, again after that we have seen that the sales have recovered and we have reached almost the pre-COVID level by March 21. However, maybe after March 21, we are again observing uh, that there is a further decline in the sales. But if we see the milk procurement by the dairy cooperatives, I think, which is providing livelihood to millions of farmers in our country, after reaching a lowest in maybe August 2020, it shown a steady growth and it reached a highest level of about 580 lakh kg per day during February 21. Generally in March and April, we see the onset of summer and the procurement volumes are generally seen declining during these 3-4 months. So we have again seen some decline in March and April this year, but I hope that it will not have major impact because of the COVID. So looking at the overall picture, I think there was minimal impact on the dairy industry, particularly the dairy cooperatives, as compared to other sectors due to pandemic last year, primarily due to a presence of very large network or the dairy infrastructure which is established in our country over the last 4 or 5 decades. However, I think due to concept of second wave of COVID, which we have seen recently, the sales have again started declining. Most of the dairy players in the country are now facing issue of milk marketing due to strict or restricted timings for the market. There are night curfews, the closure of again the Horeca segment. All this during the second wave of COVID has again impacted the sales. And if the similar trend continues, it may again lead to piling up of inventories of dairy commodities and its associated impact like piling. When the inventory gets piled up, you have blockage of working capital, which we saw in the similar in the first wave during the pandemic. But this time, one more I think issue which we have realized is that now the COVID is spreading fast in the rural areas of the country. So this vulnerability of COVID-19 infections to the staff and workers of most of the dairy cooperatives or the dairy farmers across the country, it has increased significantly. If we see the impact of COVID in terms of employees, we have the data which says that about 5% of the employees working in the cooperatives, they have been infected so far, and several of employees have lost their lives. Dairy cooperatives in most of the country are working with very lean or depleted staff strength due to these increased cases of infection. So, in these times of work from home, I think which is a new normal, let us acknowledge the efforts of millions of our milk producer, dairy cooperative societies at the village level, our collection center partners, staff and officers who are relentlessly working in the dairy industry. They have given tireless work, often maybe at the considerable risk, to ensure that the essential nutrition in the form of milk and milk products, it reaches to daily consumers across the country. If we see the some insights into the consumer behavior due to this COVID, I think one of the lasting impact of this pandemic is that consumer attitudes, behaviors, and the purchasing habits, they are changing. And many of these new ways, I think, will remain post-pandemic also. Initial days of lockdown, consumers went for panic buying, and it led to supply chain disruptions, which soon, I think very shortly, they restored. We have also seen or witnessing completely new trend of consumer behavior. For instance, home cooking and do it yourself. I think this has become a new normal. It has been rediscovered now, and which has increased the demand for staple foodstuffs. Purchasing from shopping malls, is generally replaced by purchases from the small and local retailers or the kirana shops, which we are seeing. demand for the healthy foods, like we have seen haldi milk or ashwagandha milk or many such variants, and delivering these foods at their doorstep in the most hygienic ways is again a new trend which is emerging. Dairy industry has bypassed the traditional stockist, distributor, and retailer marketing channel model, and they have started parking their own vans and tempos for direct sale of dairy products in various residential localities and the select locations. So many industry players have also tied up with online food delivery players like Swiggy and Zomato and Potefo, GrowStab. There are so many such such tie-ups which has come for doorstep delivery of milk and milk products and the food products to the households. I think going by these consumer preferences, the dairy and food sector has launched various healthier and immunity boosting products like I told, and this trend is likely to continue at least for some more time. The pandemic triggers, I think, increased demand for fermented foods and also the probiotic products. So consumers are now increasingly, seeking probiotic products like probiotic dahi, probiotic lassi, and there are so many variants available now, which will generally improve their gut health because of the good bacteria they provide, and it will improve the absorption of nutrients and thus enhance the immunity. And most probiotic, as we know, are the lactic acid bacteria like lactobacillus acidophilus and bifidobacterium. They are commonly consumed with dairy products, including our traditional cultured dairy products and some fermented milk products like yogurt. They have a multifunctional roles, and the trend suggests that the demand for such products is going to increase even after the pandemic. I think once neglected local kirana stores, it has again emerged and they have reclaimed its space as consumers are refraining from going to hypermarkets and they are avoiding the time taken in the delivery, for the online orders. So due to constrained operations like, which we are seeing in HoReCa segment and social gatherings, there has been a total shift in the demand of stock keeping units. Consumers are choosing now smaller pack units. So it is again a new trend. So demand for long shelf life product like Tetra Pak milk. It was a very limited market before pandemic, but now we have seen that the market for Tetra Pak milk is on the rise as consumers want to stock such products and reduce their movement going to the market. So both the sellers as well as the buyers, they were quick in adopting this kind of digital interventions. Online payment has now become very common among all the even smaller kirana stores. If you see, even the small vendors, it is the best method now for making the payment. Staying indoors, has increased. Online shopping, which otherwise would have taken years, to come to India. Now, few of us believed in purchasing vegetables and groceries online, but this is now becoming a way of life. So all of this, I think, calls for us to redefine relationships with the consumers, customers, and employees, and reimaging our organizations and even the ways of working. So business that will fail to account for this most critical variable, that is consumer and behavior change, and wait for pre-COVID era to return, will be left behind as the large population maybe after COVID-19 may be vastly different from the one which we have seen pre-COVID level. So I have no hesitation in saying that pre-COVID era is perhaps over. I think we'll have to redesign ourselves in the food and dairy industry. With, I think, 23% of world's milk production in our country, our growth in dairying is definitely remarkable. However, there are some challenges also, and I think we must look at some of these challenges. The first one is the low share of organized sector, in the surplus milk handling. So, in spite of all the efforts from national dairy development through governments and all the dairy cooperatives and private sector we have, The organized sector is handling only about one-third of the surplus milk which is available in the market. Preference for milk and milk products from organized sector is going to increase post-pandemic because you have seen the increased demand for safe and hygienic products, and thus there is immense scope for expansion and growth of organized sector in dairying, which will also result in milk producers getting a better price or remunerative price, and at the same time the consumers will also get good quality products in the form of all milk and milk products and other food products. The other challenge which I want to highlight is the limited processing facility or the chilling infrastructure. If we have to grow, then augmentation of the processing capacity and the chilling infrastructure in the entire value chain, I think, is required significantly. For example, in the recently concluded National Dairy Plan, which was implemented by NDDB, the chilling capacity of almost 12.5 million kg per day was created at the village level itself, and we had installed about 4,000 bulk milk coolers of appropriate sizes across the country. So I think if we see the roadmap of Government of India also, by 2025, it aims that dairy sector will double its processing capacity from existing about 54 million metric tons capacity to 108 million metric tons capacity by 2025. I think, and it will also have value-added products share from 23% to about 40%. The other challenge which I want to highlight is very low share in export. So although we are number one in the milk production in the world, we are dominating the global milk production. But if you see our share in the global dairy exports, I think it is less than 1%. Compared to the major exporters such as maybe European Union, which has a share of about 29%, New Zealand about 27%, USA has a 14% share. Even a smaller countries like Belarus, it has a share of 5% in the total world exports. India has some free trade agreements with the major dairy product importing countries in Asia. However, if we see our total exports of dairy products, even to these FTA countries, it is insignificant. So we are having the most advantageous position in increasing our share in the global export, as most of the, if you see the milk importing countries, they are like China, Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, even Bangladesh, they are our neighbors. And presently, these countries are importing dairy products from countries like New Zealand, Australia, and the European countries. So they are at very distant locations, and India should use this opportunity to improve its share in the world export, dairy export market. Another challenge which we are dealing in our country is the low productivity of animals. If you see the productivity of Indian bovine, it's about 5.1 kg per day. And it is significantly lower if you compare the same with New Zealand, where it is almost 12 kg, or USA, where it is 28 kg. So we have begun a journey for the genetic progress of a large population of our animal, and it will be accelerated going forward if breedable animals are bred through artificial insemination using the semen of very high genetic merit bulls, and they are proven. So this was a very long felt need of the dairy industry, and I think we move in this direction so that our animals have a genetic progression, and our dairy productivity of dairy animal further goes up. Finally, I think we have now been able to create an infrastructure for producing or recording through progeny selection and progeny testing programs, and we have some system already in place for genomic evaluation of the animals. This is helping in ensuring availability of high genetic merit pools for all the major dairy breeds of cattle and buffalo in our country, and it will be possible to produce very high quality disease-free semen, which will help us for improving the coverage of AI and also thereby the productivity of our animal. Another challenge which the dairy industry in particular is facing is the shortage of feed and fodder. If we see in our country, it's a major area of concern. The gap between the demand and supply of this feed and fodder is huge. As per the estimates of National Institute of Animal Nutrition and Physiology, the deficit in the requirement and the availability of dry fodder, green fodder, and the concentrates is 21%, 26%, and 34% respectively. So our the production is just 2/3 of the total production we have or the demand we have. So as far as the opportunities are concerned, I would say that it is high time that the milk supply chain may also be used for producing vegetables and fruits, maybe like our own subsidiary company, Mother Dairy Fruit and Vegetable Limited in Delhi. They have now launched sample brand name for fruits and vegetables, and it is a very successful, visible example. How the value chain created for milk can be extended for the other products. So again, there is opportunity of including milk in all the government safety net programs, like the public distribution system we have, or the midday meal scheme we have. All the Ministry of Women and Child Development can include some of this in the integrated child development services which they can provide. I think it will go a long way in ensuring not only better health and nutrition of all our citizens, but will also translate into increased livelihood opportunities for our dairy farmers. And now NDDB is looking, at other opportunities for increasing the livelihood opportunities for dairy farmers other than milk. So can we have other products like the dung? So now NDDB is working on the manure value chain. I think manure is the second most valuable livestock product. If we have a proper storage and application, we can exploit this for, as manure is the can be exploited for soil fertility or as an economic option for energy and biofuels. We have one such example in the village called Jakariyapura near Anand. We have set up about 370 biogas plants at every household which has an animal in that village. They are all using now biogas for their energy requirement. The dung which is collected after the biogas production is converted into organic manures, and it is improving the productivity of land and also the productivity of the crops. So I think this approach is expected to further augment efficient utilization of the resources available with the farmers and also their income. We are also using the dairy value chain for other products, like poultry, for example, or honey. So beekeeping is another area where farmers can adopt this model, and along with the dairy value chain, they can also supply honey, and the processors will sell honey products also along with the dairy products. So this is another way of improving the farmers' income, which NDDB is looking at very seriously. And finally, I would say that role of dairying and food industry in well-being of human population and ensuring food and nutritional security is well evident. With the concentrated efforts from all the concerned stakeholders, that is public and private sector, and India's food sector is poised to play an important role toward the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal aimed at eliminating hunger by 2030 by ensuring sustainable food and the nutritional security. I think we at NDDB, we are fully committed towards it, and we assure that all the support required from the National Dairy Development Board will be provided in this journey. Thank you, everyone. Have a very nice day and a fruitful summit for the 2 days. Thank you.
Thank you, Meenesh shah ji, for that wonderful introduction to this event, and what a beautiful way to start the proceedings of the day than hear from your expert opinion on the Indian food, nutrition, and dairy industry. So thank you so much, Meenesh shah ji, for that beautiful chief guest address and keynote delivery. And we are always, delighted and glad to have an expert and a stalwart like you be part of this event and kickstart the day of the India Food Nutrition Summit. Thank you so much, Meenesh shah ji. And again, ladies and gentlemen, just to remind you, Shri Meenesh Shah is again presiding on the very important CEO Leadership Dairy Panel on day 2. So please stay tuned at 2:40 p.m. tomorrow to watch Meenesh shah ji be part of that exclusive CEO panel discussion session as well. And thank you so much, Meenesh shah ji. Wonderful and always a pleasure having you here. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.